Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Gabriela. I am an illustrator and artist, originally from El Salvador, based in London. I have been living here for almost 13 years. I live with my husband and my two children, Elena and Gabriel. And as some of you know, I am inspired by picture books, nature, and folk art. It is a special day today because today is launch day and publication day, official publication day of the Popol Vuh, a very special collaboration with Restless Books and the author Ilan Stavans, a very acclaimed author and scholar specialized in Latin American studies. They had the vision to develop this piece of literature in a more contemporary way. It was already out there for people to read, the Popol Vuh. For hundreds of years it has been out there, but I think it is so relevant, this book, because it is developed in a more contemporary way. The Maya culture has so much imagination and knowledge that needs to be shared with the world, and I think this book is doing that by putting together a book that is made with love for all the readers that are interested in learning from other perspectives, mythology, and all the wisdom that is expressed through the stories of the Popol Vuh and how they conceived that the world was created. It's like the Bible for the Maya culture, so it's got a lot of importance, and also is a book that is close to my heart because I am from Latin America, and this is closely related to my roots and where I come from. So it is really exciting for me to be able to lend my artistic vision and language on the pages of this book. I hope that if you are able to purchase it and support this work, I hope you enjoy it as much as I have enjoyed developing the illustrations for the book and working with Ilan. Since day one, they gave me a lot of freedom for development of the illustrations. I presented the first sketches, and then they were super open towards the creativity and imagine in my imagination. So I am thankful for that, because the sky was the limit regarding creativity and imagination for the book. I had the freedom to develop the characters and all the world that is depicted on this book without constraints. So that is really special for an artist to have that freedom. These are a pop, for example, and a pop kamha. Some of the kings that appear in the city of Ismaki. Ismaki is a kingdom of colorful birds, where I had the pleasure to illustrate lots of birds of different colors and shapes. A very good excuse to draw birds, because as some of you know, I love to draw and paint birds and animals, because I love folk art, and normally folk art depicts scenes found in nature and animals and plants. So that is something I explore deeply through the illustrations of the book. In the book, the relationship between the Maya culture and the environment in which they were living in, a very exuberant land full of plants, full of life. It is still nowadays a land full of exuberant plants and animals, unfortunately, due to the effects of that we as humans have had, maybe is not so full of life as it was during the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors, and not only then, but when the Maya culture was living there. So it is really exciting to read how their relationship was, and I wanted to express that throughout the book. Here, for example, like the maidens, these are very brave women, which were they were given a task that they had to go to the river and get undressed. So that's why they are naked. And here are Mahokutach and Ikbalam. These are the first beings that were created. They were inspired, and they represented each an animal, as you can see. So here you can see them. And here are the mountains that are depicted on the book. At some point throughout the story, the Quiche people gathered together at the top of some mountains, and they had to reach some decisions. They have to take some decisions. So that's why they got together there, and they awaited the sunrise. They await the sunrise there, and these were the first drawings about that. Sorry, I'm going back instead of going forward. And here, one of the mythological creatures that appears on the book is a bat-like entity with wings. It comes from Xibalbá. It's a dark entity, because it's Xibalbá, that is the Maya underworld. That's how the Maya used to call the underworld, Xibalbá. And if you read the book, you're going to learn a lot about how they conceived the underworld and the obscure and dark houses that you were able to visit if you happened to go to the underworld. Here are Heart of Heaven and Heart of Earth, some of the Maya gods that appear on the book too. So these are I just wanted to show you a few of the first few drawings. I would like to show you the first drawings I made from Padre Jimenez. He's a priest that arrived among the first few Spanish conquistadors in the new discovered land of Central America and Mexico. The Maya people told them the stories of the Popol Vuh, and he was a visionary because he wrote down all those stories that were told to him, and that's how they were preserved for hundreds of years on the book that we know as the Popol Vuh. So now we are able to do this work for you thanks to the work that he did back then. And here let me show you how Padre Jimenez looks like. And I have to say a little secret between you and I, and it's the fact that Padre Jimenez is inspired in Ilan itself, the author of the book. So that's why he's holding the book of the Popol Vuh, because it's thanks to him that we have those we have this book and we have this story, and we are able to pass it on to the new generations. And this is a drawing of Zipacna, one of the Maya deities. He was really, really mean and crushed to death hundreds of boys, Maya boys, and the Maya believed that they became the 400 stars represented by the Pleiades constellation. For the Maya, the name of the Pleiades constellation was called Mots. And here is the final artwork developed for the book. So here you have the final artwork and the drawing of Zipacna. I also wanted to show you, for example, this drawing for this illustration about the hero twins. They appear in the part of the Xibalbá, the Maya underworld, and they are playing the ball. And here appears the sparrow hawk, and he was a messenger who ate a snake, and the snake also was a messenger who ate a toad, and then the toad also ate the louse, and then that is how they carried the message. So that is a very interesting way of carrying a message. I know. And here are the lords of Xibalbá, who were down there in the underworld, hearing how above their heads were playing the hero twins. And this is the final illustration. And here I show you both of them, the final illustration and how the drawing began. As you can see, it's very similar, but obviously there are always a few final decisions that are made once I work on the final version. And now let me show you some drawings I made for the part of creation that talks about how the world, the plants and animals were created. And here is Tepiu, along with Quetzalcoatl, a deity in which the Maya believed a feathered snake, a snake with wings. And they were making decisions regarding how the world needs to be created. Here are the first few drawings and paintings I did to create Quetzalcoatl. And then you can see here the final artwork. Here's the Tepiu and Quetzalcoatl. And here are both of them. Final artwork and the first few drawings, drafts. And you have already seen maybe this illustration that I shared a few days ago on my Instagram that appears on the book. It is what the Maya believe. It is regarding what the Maya believe, that men and women were made out of corn. And then I will explain this illustration a bit more on another work in progress I have, which is was part of the process for development of this illustration that I am telling you about. Here it is, the final illustration. Once I have the vision of how the page is going to look like with pencil drawings, that's how I start to then start to make decisions regarding technique. In this case, I normally use watercolors, gouache, and collage. If you follow my work, you know that those are the techniques that I love to use. And I think if I show you a few of the icons that I created for the book, it could give you a better idea of how I work and how I develop the artworks. This is one of the birds that appears on Ismaki, the city of colorful birds, full of colorful birds, and you can see the icons. Some of them are created at a bigger scale than others. This is another bird I created for Ismaki. A beautiful kingdom full of colorful birds. And here, parakeets and quetzal. This is a bird species that inhabits Central America. It's the national bird of Guatemala. Of course, the region where the stories of the Popol Vuh unfold. The Central American region and also Mexico, which is called the Mesoamerican region. And here we have torogos. If you're from El Salvador and you're listening to this talk, you know that the torogos is a bird species considered the national bird of El Salvador, a bird species that inhabits Central America as well. So I try to use a few, to put, for example, bird species and not only animal species, and also plants and trees that are not normally found in the region. Here you can see more birds that are found on the pages of the Popol Vuh, and also I want to show you this. This is one of the illustrations. Of course, this is work in progress, but they thought that people were, and human beings were made out of corn, and that's why I have put the corn plant here, and also that men were made out of basically of what they consume on a daily basis as part of their diet. So, for example, here we can see the jocotes fruit, which is a fruit that grows in Central America, in Mexico. Very delicious, by the way. And here is zapotes, another very delicious fruit that can be found in the region. And here you can find cacao, where the chocolate comes from. And here you can find frijoles. These are all part of our diet over there. And especially corn and frijoles are part of the daily diet of people in El Salvador, in Central America, in Mexico. And our cuisine is very much based on those ingredients. Corn, tortillas are made out of corn. If you have tried the Mexican tortillas, there are different ways. There are different ways of doing the tortillas. They look similar, but not necessarily the same. And to this day, it's still a big influence on our culture. And also the beans, the frijoles. So I thought it was good to depict that on the illustrations, and yes, as part of who the Maya are and who we are, because we are descendants of the Maya culture. People who are born there are descendants of the Maya culture, because they were we are a combination, and at the end of the day, of the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors and the people that inhabited the region, in this case the Maya. So the Popol Vuh is a great way to learn more about their vision and how they perceive the world. And here is one of the twin brothers that appears on on the front cover and also on on the illustrations on the book. And they used to play the ball, and they are invited to play the ball game down there in the underworld. They are put to the test, these two twins, and they had to endure many trials and tasks in the underworld, where you can find lots of dangerous paths and places. So that's why, well, you can see the creatures that can be found down there: jaguars, bats, very sharp blades, and there is a place where you can find lots of tremors as well. No wonder, because Central America and Mexico is a land that is characterized by volcanic activity, but not only volcanic activity, but also lots of tremors. If you live there, you know what I'm talking about. That's just part of your life, because it's part of the region, and yeah, it's scary, basically. Whenever you have to endure those tremors, and then that's why they appear in the underworld of the Maya culture. Here is the princess Ixquic, and she appears flying on the book because she is carried by this guy here, one of the owl messengers. Yeah, she's carried by him. And then I wanted to show you, I think if you see this, you more or less see how the techniques I use and how I have developed the illustrations for the book. Some of them are created at a bigger scale than others, as you can see. And I'm going to show you now some of the bats that appear in the Maya underworld. Yeah, so there are other mythological creatures. For example, there is a part in which some orphans, that's how they are called in the story. They are dancing, and they are doing magic tricks, and they turn into different beings, and they turn into a fish with like human features, and they are dancing, and they turn into different animals. So that's a very magical scene, and they are by the fire doing their magic tricks and dancing. So here they are, some of the characters that appear on that page. And also Heart of Heaven. I've showed you some drawings of Heart of Heaven and Heart of Heaven, which appears alongside of Heart of Earth. So you can see Heart of Heaven here. And how they were created. Here in the background you can see more of the icons and letterings that I created for the book. Once I have delivered the illustrations for the book, they wanted me also to illustrate and paint a few letters, and I was very pleased to be able to also lend my artistic abilities for that, because it's something I love. I love calligraphy, and that's something I have loved since I was a child. And then here there are more exercises developed for that, and more icons, and all the words and texts that you see come from here. They were made with watercolors and collage, and yes, in blue, maybe because it's my favorite color. the color of the sea, the color of solidarity, the color of serenity, of peacefulness. So maybe that's why that is my favorite color. And talking about color, I think it's important to also let you know that I hope that I have managed to give a mood to the book in the use of with the use of color. Because, for example, the Xibalba part is more obscure, and I make use of darker colors to give it a more like sinister atmosphere to the illustrations. And then for example, the pages, the last pages, the last few pages, which were when the Spanish conquistadors arrived, and when the Ismaki world of food of colorful birds is shown, is full of also lots of color as well. So I hope that 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 shows the mood, and then how the world of the Maya was not only an obscure place, but also a very colorful place, full of life, full of animals and deities, entities, creatures, fruits of different colors and shapes, and also creatures that are of their imagination, that were part of their world. It was very nice that, and I think it was a very good idea to illustrate not only the illustrations but also the icons and the letters that appear on the book, which is what I'm showing you now. Some of the icons. Here is Heart of Heaven again, one of the bats in Xibalba, the Maya underworld. The trees found on the part of the creation of the Maya, and the birds. The book is divided into 4 different parts. The first part is the part of creation. The second part is the part of Xibalba, the Maya underworld. The third part is the part of sunrise, and the fourth part is the part of promise. That's the part when the the Spanish conquistadors, arrived in the region, Central America and Mexico, and then a new era begins for the Maya people because they are subjugated, as we already know, and they are basically forced to learn and about Christianity and the Christian beliefs, and this book basically tells the story before the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors. The myth of creation of the Maya culture. So that's why it's so relevant, because when the Spanish conquistadors arrived, they wanted the Maya culture to forget who they were and where they come from, and their beliefs, and how the world was, how they perceived that the world was created. So I really feel that this book is exactly talking about let's not forget that their culture has knowledge, their culture has wisdom to learn from. And despite the fact that the Spanish conquistadors arrived and a new era began for them, there are things to learn from them. So I think it's relevant now more than ever to learn from other cultures, to learn from other civilizations, and to see the similarities that we have with other cultures, regardless of our differences. And that just brings people to get closer, and it gives a better understanding of each other and who we are. and more openness in the world, which we need more than ever. Even if we think that we have come this far through the events that have happened this year in the world, I think we are seeing that we need this type of literature, and not only literature but exposure to other ideas, to other cultures, and then their voices need to be heard. So I think that's why this work is so relevant, and I am super excited to be able to collaborate, to be part of this. I am thankful with Restless Books for believing in my work. To Ilan, it's been an honor to work with you, Ilan. Thank you so much for putting faith in my work. And also Nathan, they have been amazing and very open towards my ideas and my input. Even with even the end paper, every single thing that appears on the book has been made with lots of care, lots of love for work that really wants to say to the world, hey, here I am. It's important for the Maya culture to be recognized. In the beginning, when we were discussing the brief for the book, I asked Ilan if he wanted me to be influenced by the aesthetic and arts and crafts and sculptures that the Maya created for the development of the illustrations, and he told me straight away that it was free for me to use whichever technique, visual language, and style I wanted. So I was able to, yes, see a few things created by the Maya and the Quichua people, ceramics and sculptures and different objects that they created for inspiration. But I basically wanted to create something unique, something original, something authentic, and I hope that I have been able to express that on the pages of the book so that it reaches wider audiences in a more contemporary way. Thank you everyone for tuning in, for being part of this special day. It's been an honor to be able to share the world of the Popol Vuh with you guys. The characters, the mythological creatures, a little bit of the stories that appear on the book. Thank you everyone, and thank you to all the people that have inspired my work throughout the years. Especially, I want to show you, last but not least, this book. It's been part of my life, of my childhood, and then the author is Salarue, a very important author and writer from El Salvador, whose daughter illustrated the pages of this book. I used to read it when I was little. I was not even able to read already yet at that time, but I used to see the pictures and they inspired me so much that I used to make up the stories for the book. And then I believe this book has been a big influence in my work, and then I wanted to show it to you before I say goodbye. So was the work of Salvadoran artist Fernando Yort. It has been an influence as well in my work. Here he is, and he passed away a couple of years ago, and he's a folk artist too, and he supported lots of artisans in El Salvador as well to make a living out of doing arts and crafts. He supported them through his work, so he was a very generous person. Get a copy of the book. There is no limit. There is no age limit. Everyone can read this book, children and adults alike. So it's for everyone to read and hope you appreciate a little bit more all the work that has been put on this for the production of of this book. Thank you from the bottom of my heart again. Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.